Happy International Women's Day. Today, March 8th, is the day that we celebrate women's achievements and we fight for equality and to overcome discrimination against women in our society. Now, in the United States, we've come a long way, but we still have a ways to go. But the equality of women is one of the reasons I wrote this book, Equal Protection Under God, which came out in August of 2021. This deals with equality in the church. Hi, I'm Tanya Hendrix, and I am an attorney, I'm an author, but I also have a master's of divinity. And one of my primary areas of study when I was in seminary was to study about women in church history, women in the Bible, and specifically how God treated women. But I had the opportunity back in 2020 to start writing this book after hearing really after hearing the story of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Whether or not you like her, she was a trailblazer, and she really worked hard on gender equality cases back in the 70s before she ever took the bench. And so when I heard her story, it triggered my mind about how gender equality in our courts. I'm an attorney, so I know how the courts operate. Gender equality in our courts can inform gender equality in the church. Now, obviously, our highest authority on gender equality in the church is Jesus. And if you ever study Jesus, you will see how he elevated women. And this whole book is filled with stories of how God and Jesus elevated women throughout the course of the Bible. And it's just amazing when you go back and read those stories and those accounts of especially Jesus and how he really highlighted women and elevated women to status that they're not really, we don't really recognize today, or some segments do not recognize today. But in honor of International Women's Day, I want to read a little bit from my book, Equal Protection Under God. This is available on Amazon. You can go to my website and also get it. But this excerpt is about the value of a woman. Now, one of the things about International Women's Day is to fight discrimination, and part of that is in pay. It's in how we get treated. And as I said, we have come a long way, but we're not there yet. So here's what I want to read to you from Equal Protection Under God. And again, it's Equal Protection Under God, Gender Equality, and Women's Roles in the Church. So this is an excerpt. The value of a woman. Equal pay for women continues to be a hot topic. In 2019, the United States women's national soccer team filed a gender discrimination lawsuit against the U.S. Soccer Federation for the pay and benefits gap between the women's and men's national soccer teams. Though equal pay has been litigated since at least the 70s, it remains a problem in the United States. In 1974, the Supreme Court, grappled with the issue of men who refused to work for the lower wages paid to women, and the corresponding issue that women were prohibited from performing the higher paying night shift work due to state laws prohibiting women working night shifts. In 74, there was a law that women could work night shifts. Okay. Corning Glass Works had female inspectors for their day shift operations, but when they started overnight operations, 2 states in which they had factories did not allow women to work overnight. Men refused to work for the same pay the women received for the day shift operations, so Corning increased the pay for the night shift while leaving the pay the same for the day shift, meaning the women would be paid less than the men who worked at night doing the same job. The court looked to comments of the legislators who debated provisions of the Equal Pay Act applicable to this case. The court's opinion, written by Justice Thurgood Marshall, Alabama native, quoted one of those legislators, Representative Dwyer, who said the objective of equal pay legislation is not to drag down men workers to the wage levels of women, but to raise women to the levels enjoyed by men in cases where discrimination is still practiced. End quote. Women are not trying to drag men down, rather to be lifted up and paid the same as men for the same work. A woman's value is not less than a man's. So the point of equal pay or equality between men and women is not to drag men down. It is to elevate women. I have spoken about the issues in this book for a number of years, and it's never about bringing men down. We want to elevate women, do just what Jesus did. Jesus elevated women. When you look at how he treated Mary Magdalene, how he made her the first person to see his resurrected body and to say, "Go tell the men." He commissioned her. He also elevated the woman who's caught in adultery. He elevated the woman with a bleeding issue. I mean, when you go back and read these stories and how he valued them and how he gave them value through those stories and through his actions with them. There's no doubt that Jesus wanted women elevated and valued women. So I hope that today on International Women's Day, you'll take a minute to reflect not only on what's happening in our court system, as I'm accustomed to, but also what's happening in the church, what Jesus did to elevate women, and how he cared for women, and how he wanted women to know their value. So, I know that women often feel unseen and not valued, and I help women understand how God sees us, values us, and gives us value throughout scripture. I mean, from Eve all the way to the end, God has given us value throughout scripture so that we can live in the freedom of his everlasting love. Again, Tanya Hendrix, buy my book if you want. If you want to know what I'm talking about, buy this one. There's several other books you can get, but enjoy your International Women's Day. Think about the women who have just been trailblazers and fought for equality, fought for just their jobs, just to be able to work and get paid the same as their counterparts who are males. Thank you very much, and have a great International Women's Day. Bye.